Greetings from Neuroscience Group Field in Grand Chute, Wisconsin. I'm Greg Hofer. My next guest is a former Appleton West Terror, a former Arkansas Razorback, a 7th-round draft pick of the Florida Marlins, a former big leaguer with the Milwaukee Brewers. He's now entering his 8th year as a coach in the Milwaukee Brewers system, all with the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers, his 6th as the manager. He led the club to the 2012 Midwest League Championship, and he's the all-time wins leader in Appleton professional baseball history. He is Matt Erickson. Matt, thank you very much for joining us. It's a pretty impressive resume.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Obviously, born and raised in Appleton, Wisconsin, and now get a chance to manage the hometown pro club. It's a good place to be.
And you know you've arrived. You got a little bobblehead here. You got a bobblehead on Sunday honoring you. You know you've arrived when you are able to get a bobblehead in your honor. It's pretty nice. I know this is the first time you've actually seen it.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen it up close in person, but this brings back some really good memories of high school. We were blessed to go through high school with a bunch of really good athletes, and were able to play on some fun teams. We won state championships in football and baseball while I was there, and played in the state tournament in basketball as well. So good memories, and there'll be a lot of those people out here on Sunday.
I look forward to it. Weather's supposed to be great as well. Now, you talk about, coaching and growing up here. You were sort of Craig Counsell before Craig Counsell was Craig Counsell. I'm sure that has some advantages and disadvantages, but what's it like coaching in the town you grew up in?
It's awesome. I mean, right now I have 3 children. I have an 11-year-old Maddox, 6-year-old Aubrey, and a 2-year-old Emma, and they get a chance to come out here and be a part of it. Not only the proximity that I live here in the city, but it's also the organization. Our parent club is the Milwaukee Brewers, and that's the team that I grew up watching. I remember going to County Stadium when I was a young man with Dad and watching Robin Yount all over the field. And then they were the team that ultimately gave me a chance to play in the big leagues. And now again, another opportunity to help hone the sharp skills of these young minor league baseball players.
Now, we're in a beautiful setting here, obviously. When you were growing up, they played over at Goodland Field. They were the Appleton Foxes. Obviously, new stadium, new branding and all that over the last 15, 20 years. But as a kid, any opportunities to go over to Goodland Field?
Absolutely. I never was the bat boy, but I chased a lot of foul balls there and ate a lot of hot dogs. But Appleton West will always use that field as their home field. When Dad was coaching the baseball team at West, we'd get on Sunday nights after the afternoon games, we get to work out on the field, and then after the games or after my elementary school days, I'd rush home, and Mom and I would run over to watch the games at Goodland Field. So I probably have more Appleton West memories of Goodland Field than actually the Foxes, but did get a chance to go out to some Foxes games as well.
Now, you come from a pretty good baseball family. Your grandpa played professionally with the New York Giants. Your dad's a legendary baseball coach in this area. What was it like playing for your dad? Obviously, a lot of success, Hall of Fame coach, multiple state championships. What was that opportunity like for you?
I tell you, his communication is outstanding. His baseball knowledge is one thing, but he really knows how to communicate and relate to young people. He was as good in the classroom. I think he liked teaching physical education and helping all kinds of young people just as much as he liked the classroom on the field. And I know they had a lot of success in Appleton, and he'd be the first one to tell you that some of that success was immediately developed at the youth levels, at Little League Baseball, and the strong community that we have and have had here for a long time. And then Babe Ruth and the Legion programs, and ultimately Appleton East and Appleton West for a long time were the beneficiaries of that.
Now, in high school at Appleton West, you played 3 sports. How did playing 3 sports, allow you to become the athlete that you ultimately became? Because there is so much specialization in the day we live in now.
Yeah, there really is. For me, I just love to compete. I wasn't sure baseball was my favorite sport. I'm not sure baseball is my favorite sport yet. I play a lot of golf, table tennis, you name it. But growing up, I know we went to the YMCA a lot, played a lot of basketball growing up as a young kid. And then we got into football, and that was a little bit later on in life. And Pop Warner, now you can start them at about 6 years old. We had to wait till we were in 6th grade. So I played a couple years of Pop Warner, and then got into middle school, and we had some really successful middle school teams. And then just having that love affair for competition. And then, I don't think there's any substitute for competition. I think, unfortunately, nowadays, some kids get talked into really specializing at an early age, and it's fine for some people, I'm sure. But I think some of our young people are really missing out on some of those team relationships that you develop with your fellow students.
So you graduate from Appleton West. You're actually drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers in the 57th round. Now, 57th round doesn't sound like much, but hey, Mike Piazza was drafted in the 62nd round, and we all know where he ended up. How tough was it to turn down that opportunity with the Milwaukee Brewers?
That wasn't very tough at all. I had an opportunity to go to the University of Arkansas, and that was kind of the weighing option. I knew at the time that I wasn't ready for professional baseball, and that I needed to get a lot better as a baseball player and as a person, before I was going to enter that professional lifestyle. So made the decision to go to the University of Arkansas, and it was a good decision for me. Had some great life experiences and became a much better baseball player in the 3 years that I was there.
Now, as you mentioned, you end up at Arkansas. You live in Appleton, Wisconsin. How does a kid from Appleton, Wisconsin end up in Fayetteville, Arkansas as a member of the Razorbacks?
Sure. Norm DeBryan, who is our manager at the University of Arkansas, he's originally from Wisconsin. He's from Ashland, Wisconsin, has ties all over the area. He went to college at the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, played baseball and football there. I think he taught a little bit at Hortonville High School. And through the years, he was there 33 years, I believe, 34 years. And through the years, he always had one guy on his roster from the state of Wisconsin. So early in high school, I started getting some letters, my freshman, sophomore year from the University of Arkansas. And they kept coming and kept coming. And I was actually, ironically enough, I was on a recruiting trip to the University of Minnesota, and they were playing in the Oscar Mayer Classic in the Metrodome. And ultimately, I ended up talking more to the Arkansas staff that particular weekend than I did the Minnesota staff, and ultimately got a visit down to Arkansas. I was very comfortable with the setting there, and the facilities are top-notch. We're crazy about our Green Bay Packers here, but everybody in the state of Arkansas, they're bleeding Razorback red. No professional sports in the state, so they really come out in droves and support the college team, and really had a great time while I was there.
And obviously, it was a great decision for you. One of 19 freshman All-Americans at Arkansas. You're still the all-time batting average leader at .377. So obviously, playing at Arkansas really worked well, and it resonates with the fans from Arkansas because you were just voted about a year ago, Hog Nation, 6th best position player all-time at Arkansas. It has to be a pretty good feeling for you.
It is. I didn't realize. I thought they forgot about me by now, and I didn't realize that. No, I kid Dad. I finally went down and got a hitting coach. Someone knew he was doing. But Doug Clark was our hitting coach down there. We played on AstroTurf, so it was a great place to hit. And I was the guy that never had a whole lot of power. I'd hit the ball gap to gap and find the barrel and try to be as tough out as possible. And when you combine that with some AstroTurf, you're going to find a lot of base hits. So the setting, the facility fit me well. After my freshman year, they built what is now Charlie Baum Stadium at George Cole Field. I still think that's the name of it. A beautiful complex, and I know it's been voted the #1 baseball facility in the country a couple times, and they keep adding on to it. But the competition and the facilities and the love for the game down in the Southeastern Conference is amazing. I really didn't know what I was getting myself into, but sure was glad that I made that decision.
Everybody knows SEC football is as good a football as they play in the country. SEC basketball is pretty good, obviously, with the Blue Blood Kentucky. What was it like playing baseball in the SEC from venue to venue, from team to team? And keeping in mind that Arkansas has produced guys like Dallas Keuchel, AL reigning Cy Young winner, Cliff Lee, who had a great 10-year run in the big leagues. So there's some pretty good baseball that's played in the SEC, not just football and basketball.
Absolutely. In my opinion, I might be biased, but they're second to none. There's no better collegiate baseball than the Southeastern Conference. And the facilities that you play in, as you mentioned, the first SEC tournament I played in my freshman year was at Mississippi State. And they had 18,000 people in the stands that night. And I'll never forget rolling up there. LSU was another interesting road trip, my first time going down there, and we pulled the bus up next to the stadium, and everybody's tailgating, and there's hog heads on broomsticks and hogs on rotisserie. And I tell you a quick story about that. And the baseball people at LSU, they really have an understanding and appreciation for the game. Obviously, they're LSU Tiger crazy, and they're backing their Tigers. But we had a freshman, Rob Kornstrom, who came in. He had a spot start on a Friday night there, and it ended up keeping them scoreless for 8 1/3 innings. And he finally gave up a double and then a base hit, and they ended up scoring a run. And our closer came in to get the final 2 outs. But as Rob was walking off the field, the entire stand stood up and gave him a standing ovation. And this is after abusing us for 8 1/3 inning verbally. So that was a neat feeling. One of the memories that I have from there. But every venue now Vanderbilt is a huge part of everything on the national scale. Arkansas continues to get better. There's always 4 or 5 teams represented at the College World Series from that conference. So it's good to see not only Arkansas doing well, but the whole conference in general keeping that baseball life down there alive.
Now, being a student athlete at Arkansas, I don't know if you had time to do anything, but when you were at Arkansas, that was like the heyday for the Razorbacks. They had gone to back-to-back national championships in basketball, winning one, losing one. You went a couple of times to the NCAA tournament, and the football team went to an SEC championship. Had to be a pretty fun time. Did you get to experience any of those events when you were down there?
Sure. Nolan Richardson, the 40 Minutes of Hell, they were exciting to watch. They come out full court press you. And then light it up, run as fast as they can up and down the court. And ironically enough, my senior year in high school, we tried to run a similar style, obviously with not the athletes that we had at the University of Arkansas. But Coach Woodley, I tell people this all the time. My senior year, we played in a state championship in football and baseball that year. But the most fun I had my senior year was playing basketball. We really weren't expected to do anything in the conference. Coach Woodley threw away his game plans, and we just ran up and down the court as fast as we can, and really tried to put as much pressure on people as possible. We ended up losing 4 games all year and really surprising people, and that was a good time for sure.
So after 3 pretty decorated seasons at Arkansas, you're drafted by the Florida Marlins after your junior year, 7th round. I'm sure getting a call to the big leagues is the biggest thrill, but being drafted and starting your professional career has got to be a close second.
Absolutely. The Florida Marlins were the team that gave me that opportunity, and I still know some people down there. And as the baseball world expands, it's amazing how you stay close knit with the people. Even over those first couple years that I was involved, went through their organization for 7 years. Got to all levels of minor league baseball and was kind of stuck in AAA there. Decided to, in my first 6-year free agency year, decided to sign with the Milwaukee Brewers. Had a good spring training that first year with Milwaukee. Unfortunately, was the last guy sent down that first year, but they promised they'd give me an opportunity at some point during that season, and they didn't disappoint. I got that call around the All-Star break in 2004 and got a taste of the big leagues for the first time.
And ultimately in your 8th year, you get that call. And as luck would have it, like you mentioned, it's with the Brewers in 2004 with the Reds against Aaron Harang at Miller Park. Driving into Miller Park, what kind of thoughts are going through your mind? What do you remember about that day specifically?
I just remember being on the phone and being excited, of course, and getting to the park. And it was, I believe it was a Friday night. There was about 40,000 people in the stands. And I looked up there and it seemed like I knew about every other person. So the people from the Valley, we've always had tremendous support, not only for the Timber Rattlers and the Brewers in this area, but all the relationships that I developed through my time here. It just seemed like they all made the time to come down there that particular night. So it was a very special night for me.
Your first hit, not against any Joe Schmo either. 323 game winner, Greg Maddux. You get 1 hit in the big leagues. You made it count. Take me through the at-bat.
Greg Maddux is one of the best, man. It was my first start. I was playing second base. I saw 5 pitches and 3 at-bats. They were all strikes, if you can believe that, from Maddux. I grounded out the first 2 times to the second base. One was I rolled over a changeup. The other one was a little cutter that he blew my bat up. And I remember running out to my position and asking the umpire, I'm like, how do you hit this guy? You know, kind of kiddingly or jokingly aside. He's like, I don't know, he's one of the best, but you got to get him early. And it just so happens that my third at bat, he threw a first pitch change up, a little bit up in the zone, and I was able to get the barrel on it, hit a line drive into right field to Sammy Sosa, who ultimately threw it in. And then Derek Lee was playing first, who was a teammate of mine with the Marlins for the last couple spring trainings before that. He says, man, that's your first one? I looked up at him. I said, yeah, we're not all 6'5" and blessed with them God-given hands. But that was a good day. The umpire threw the ball into the dugout, and then the clubbies at Wrigley Field were awesome. You know, they said they'd do the facade of the scoreboard on one side of the ball, and then they'd ask Greg if he'd actually sign the other side. So I was very happy with that. You know, I went to dinner that night, came back the next day. There's a brand new ball sitting in my locker, and I'm excited to go over and read it. I pick it up, and I look at it, and it says, Matt, F off, Greg Maddux. So then I turn around, all the clubbies are laughing, and they flip me the game ball as well, and Maddux signed the game ball as well. So I have those two balls on my son's mantle in his bedroom, which my wife happened to be about 8.5 months pregnant at the time, and we gave birth to our son a couple weeks later and named him Maddux.
That is a great story. You know, if you wouldn't have got that one hit, they might have made a movie about you. Moonlight Graham, you know, he didn't get a hit. You got one. You don't get the movie, he does, but you got the big league hits. So that's good stuff. But in the middle of your professional career, I want to touch on this real quick. You play for Team USA. You lead the club with a .455 average. You win a silver medal. Take us through that experience. How did that differ from, say, high school, college, and the professional level at all?
Unbelievable experience. At that time, we were going through September 11th, about a month prior to that, and the nationalism at the time. You know, growing up watching the Olympics, I was always excited to see our Olympic team and to see the people wear the USA across their chest. But that particular time was just, I mean, emotions were crazy, and we weren't sure if we were going to even be able to go at one point. But then they finally said, yeah, we're going to do it. Major League Baseball really stepped in with some security, and we traveled with FBI agents. And everywhere we went in Taiwan, because that's where the World Cup was held that year, everywhere we went, we had police escorts. We had our own hotel room, the entire floor. Guys with M16s at the elevator doors. So it was a crazy time, but what a moment, what an opportunity for me and obviously for our country. I mean, you didn't have to stretch, let's put it that way. You were ready to go. As soon as you put that uniform on, you were ready to play some ball and represent your country.
The last thing I wanted to touch on, and I find this really fascinating, in 2006, you're actually with the Diamondbacks. You're playing for the Tucson Sidewinders. The manager, Chip Hale, now the manager with the Arizona Diamondbacks. At some point, various times throughout the course of that year, through that clubhouse, was Tony Clark, Major League Baseball Union president. You also had Andy Green, now the manager with the San Diego Padres, and Craig Counsell, the manager obviously now with the Milwaukee Brewers. Kind of a who's who, kind of a fun little clubhouse in 06 with the Diamondbacks.
It was an extraordinary clubhouse, and then we had Chris Young and Miggy Montero, and Stephen Drew, Alberto Crespo, Scotty Hairston, and the list goes on and on. I mean, there's guys that were in the big leagues the next year, and then the guys that you mentioned, obviously some baseball minds that have continued to give back to the game after their playing days. So yeah, that was a great experience. That was just another a feather in the cap of the many great experiences that the game of baseball has given to me in my life.
Well, Matt, I appreciate all the time, and thank you very much for joining us, and continued success throughout your career, not only this year but throughout.
Appreciate you. Best of luck to you as well.
Matt Erickson Bobblehead Day on Sunday. Thanks for watching. I'm Greg Hofer.